What is up, people? Today we got a couple exciting things going on. One, we have a brand new engine for the Mustang. Two, we're standing right outside the new shop. So without further ado, let's go take a look. Here it is, the new shop. This is where we're gonna continue the build for number 3 and maybe a couple other projects. One may or may not include a brand new crate engine. But let's take a small tour of the shop as well as look at the new power plant for number 3, our 66 Mustang that we are rebuilding. I also want to show you guys a couple cool things laying around the shop. Some things that have been following me for years, some things that I don't want to get rid of, and also some things that I didn't even know I had. Before I can show you the engine, I have to pick it up off the ground, put it on the stand. But in order to put it on the stand, I have to replace the ram on the engine hoist. So let's do that. Alright, new ram is installed. Now we just gotta pick up the engine and put it on the stand. Alright, the engine is now on the stand. That took longer than I thought, but let's take a closer look. So the engine that we chose for number 3 is a 5-liter 302. I picked this engine up from San Luis, Arizona. It was about a 4-hour drive from here. I picked it up in my hatchback. Hatchbacks are so underrated, by the way. They're like little pickup trucks. But diving in a little deeper to this engine, it has upgraded flat top pistons, Ford Performance lifters, an E303 cam, a Melling high volume oil pump, and one of the things that I was most excited for on this engine, and the main reason I got it, is because it had GT40P heads that were ported by the previous owner, so that's a giant plus. Trick flow springs and retainers. So this engine has a bunch of goodies that I would have installed in a bare bone 302 anyway. And these are the heads you want. And no, this isn't gonna make a ton of power, but that's not the point of this build. We want a well-balanced car and a well-handling car. Speaking of suspension, that box over there is one out of like 17 boxes that are arriving to make this thing handle like it's on rails. That's for the next video though, so I'm not gonna give away too much. I will drop a hint somewhere along in this video, and if anybody catches it, well, you know. And speaking of the engine and suspension combination, this suspension is gonna hopefully allow me to move the engine a couple inches backwards. Even 1 inch would help our CG. So yeah, that's a big plus. This is a huge upgrade compared to where we were working before. About 2 years ago, we started on Little Red in the backyard of my parents' house. I started working on Little Red in the dirt, and it was not fun. Any gust of wind and I was eating dirt for the next couple minutes. It is pretty awesome looking back at where we started and the space that we have now to work. I'm incredibly humbled by all of this, and I'm so happy. From the backyard of my parents' house to this 1,200 square foot shop, I am so excited to work on this car. Okay, so now we get to look at some cool things I have laid around the shop, starting with this crank assembly from Little Red, from the 289 that came in it from the factory. I was thinking about making this a table. I don't know, it seems like a pretty fun project. Next up, we have the diff that is going in number 3. It is a Ford 8.8 that came out of a Ford Explorer. So in order to make this fit into the Mustang, we have to narrow this differential. Simple explanation for narrowing this: we're gonna have to cut one side and shorten it a tiny bit so we could get the right track for the Mustang. So this differential is so perfect for this build because one, it's gonna have disc brakes now, but it also has a limited slip differential that's gonna up the fun factor and the handling. So that is a big project within itself. So if you would like to see that, you already know what to do. Next up, we have these guys. That is the original cluster that came on Little Red in 1965. And this one is the original gauge cluster for our current project, number 3. That's an example of something you shouldn't sell. I mean, not that they're worth much, but it just looks so good just to have them there. Next up is these wheel pants. They're off of a 1967 Cessna 150G. Some of you might know her as Big Red. I ended up removing these after I bought it because it made it a little hard to check tire pressure, which is pretty important when you're flying, or landing I should say. But I sold the plane and somehow I forgot to give these away with the plane. So now they're just garage decorations. Next up on the list is this little guy. This little Swiss Army knife is basically what started it all. My curiosity for taking things apart and putting them back together. I haven't seen this thing in a couple years, but when I was moving things from the shed to the shop, I found it buried inside a box and it brings me back, you know? When I had little blue, I remember I had to take apart the gauge cluster a couple times. I remember using this 90% of the time. I found this thing in a taxi when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I can't believe that I still have it. I'm gonna keep it up there. Lastly, a splash of color around the shop is a must, and behind me and scattered around the shop are paintings and custom artwork made by different family members. I had them in my shed when I was working out of my parents' backyard, and I had to bring them along with me. I'm thinking of putting them all around the shop, all along the walls, and hopefully keep on adding more. I know you guys probably want to see me cut this car up and actually start working on it. With this space and setup, I will easily be able to make more videos and better quality videos for you guys. I'm super excited and humbled to start working here. Moments like these, I just like to take a step back, take a deep breath and soak it all in. Remember all the struggles I had in my parents' backyard that I won't have here. All the dirt, all the cats peeing on the car. I'm just so excited, and I'm so excited to share everything with you guys. If anybody guesses what suspension is going on this car, I'll make a rookie pilot sweater and send it out to you for free. I just want to see if anybody could guess. I'll just give you one hint. That's it. Like I said, for the next video, we'll be looking into the suspension that's gonna have this thing driving like it's on rails. We'll do an overview and see where we're at so we know what we have to do to prepare to install the suspension on number 3. We will get some progress done on number 3 soon, I promise. There's just been a lot of things going on with getting the shop and moving everything in, but we're all set up, we're all good to go. So I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching.